But hello, everyone. Thank you all for being here and welcome to our Spring Service Learning Symposium. Our theme this semester is Amplifying Community Knowledge for Equity and Justice. So thank you all for being here. It's nice to see everyone on Zoom. My name is Daniela, and I'm a junior psychology major with a minor in community action and social change. I'm also an EDGE fellow and the moderator for today's event. So thank you everyone for being here, all of the students, staff, faculty, community partners, and community members. It's really nice to have everyone here. Just to share a little bit about a reflection from myself, this semester I got to work with Canal Alliance's advocacy and policy team and support them with their work that they do alongside Voces del Canal, which is a local community organized group. And I've worked with them for several semesters now, but I'm constantly learning each semester that I go, definitely learning from all of the knowledge and the skills that they have and all of the lived experience, which has been really beneficial, not just in my classes, but in my own learning and in my overall experience at Dominican. I've been able to witness the power of their community organizing and just see all of the work that they do, which definitely comes from their heart and the passion that they have to advocate for change in their community. And specifically this semester, I got to do a research project relevant to the work that they do and kind of exploring how civic engagement has been a tool for them, its members, but also the greater community. And with that, I had to do my research project and interviews and conversations with them. So I definitely could not have done that with all of their work and their collaboration that we do with each other. And so it's just been really awesome for me as a student to learn from them and see how they collaborate and work together, whether it's advocating for housing, a cleaner community, transportation, lighting, and just seeing all of the work that they do. So it's been a really positive experience. And I think definitely something that when I leave Dominican, I will take away with me forever. And so I have definitely enjoyed working and collaborating with them. With that, I think we can go ahead and get started. We'll have our speakers and our community partners here to share. And then at the end, I think we'll have time if anyone has any questions or closing thoughts. So with that, I will go ahead and pass it on to our first speaker, which is Gina, and she will talk about her work with Next Generation Scholars and the Marin County Public Defender's Office.
Hi, my name is Gina Dudley. I'm a social justice and psychology major here at Dominican. This semester, I got to work with, obviously, as Daniela just said, the Public Defender's Office and Next Generation Scholars. So what I'm going to talk about, community engaged research. I was actually in the same class as Daniela. And so community engaged research is essentially a practice that uplifts community members and places their voices at the center of the research. So not only do the community members take a leading role in every step of the process, from drafting the research question to providing qualitative data such as interviews, but it's dedicated to producing a product that or a solution that we can give back to the community, that the community can use. And an interesting quote that we read in our research methods class from Cervantes Soon in her book Juarez Girls Rising was the humanization of the other, valuing the lives of all human beings, regardless of their social position or nationality, was at the core of our work. And those values really drove my service in tutoring at the Next Generation Scholars and being a legal intern. So at NGS, I worked with two boys all semester. I was tutoring in English and math. And NGS, I don't know if many of you have been there before. It's literally a house. And when I tell you they take that value and they really put it at their core. It is a family environment and they really care about the students as people and not just as academics. And that leads me to my key takeaway, which was public schools should really start valuing the students farther than academics, because their academic motivation is so much more present when they feel valued as more than just a student. And then at the public defender's office, I had several notable moments. I got to assist one of the attorneys in going through over 600 juror questionnaires to try and spot any bias that may be present, because it was a Latino defendant in the murder case. And basically, after I read through all of those, I gave it back, and they were able to dismiss the jurors who obviously had shown clear bias. I then also worked with Clean Slate, filing over 100 sealing and expungement petitions. The way this benefits the community is they're then able to go find better housing opportunities and job opportunities. And really uplifting working with the community members. They all showed just an immense amount of drive to be the best version of themselves, and it's really inspiring. And then my final and honestly my biggest, the accomplishment I'm most proud of this semester, is I got to shadow the immigration attorney and work on two separate immigration petition cases where you file a petition to the court and basically say they didn't take their immigration status into consideration when charging the defendant. And we filed the petition, included a bunch of character letters, professional certifications. We worked really closely with the client to find a bunch of supporting documents. And all the charges were vacated against him, and he's no longer at risk for deportation. And he has been for 23 years. So it was a big, big accomplishment. And I was really happy. And so to close out, throughout my time at the public defender's office, I really felt like I was serving from the margins. So speaking from the margins is a topic was coined by bell hooks, essentially the space between the community and the server, where everyone's a little uncomfortable, and it's where a lot of growth happens, a lot of change happens because everybody's expanding their comfort zones. So I encourage all of you to find what you're passionate about, find those margins within the community where you can make real change, and always stay willing to learn. So thank you, and I will pass it back to Daniela.
Thank you so much, Gina. Really loved you sharing that story and all of that great advice for everyone. I will now pass it on to our next speaker, who is Diara, and she will talk about her work with Canal Alliance's social services.
Hi, thank you. I'm Diara Navarrete, and I'm a first-year psychology major with minors in art and community action and social change. And my service learning class was social justice and ethical action with Dr. Leon, and I worked with the Canal Alliance. And at the Alliance, I was a social service assistant, so I typically help community members apply for job opportunities, translate documents, and look for housing opportunities. And when working with those community members, my main priority was to listen to their needs and find ways to meet those needs. And even when we weren't typically working on stuff, we were able to hold conversations and create connections. And that was just really special because we were able to learn from each other and just see how our similar ethnic backgrounds have similarities and just create connections through those similarities. But I was also helping them. They allowed me to guide them on what they wanted to achieve, whether that was translating documents for them or helping them apply for specific job applications like Target and Marshalls. And I worked with the community members to highlight their strengths and work experience when making resumes together to have them have better opportunities for those jobs. And I made it my goal to help the community members reach their goals as I wanted them to succeed. I offered my skill set that had privileged me in order to support the Canal community. And those skill sets included using my biliteracy skills to help translate information on job applications and my digital literacy to navigate websites and complete job applications with the community members. But overall, I had a great time working with the community members at the Canal Alliance. They were super inspiring, and everyone was very motivated to meet their goals and gave me the opportunity to help and reach those goals.
Thank you so much for sharing. It's absolutely wonderful to hear. I will now pass it on to our next speaker, who is Dan from Desire to Inspire.
My name is Deyne Jurie. I'm a senior, and my major is global public health. The Desire to Inspire. I've worked with them this past semester, along with the role of the Bridge the Gap high schoolers. So our goal was to pretty much work with camera work and and pretty much capture the stories of the elders in Marin City as a whole, and behind the scenes when it comes to editing, making sure that these stories are told in a way that's captivating towards the audience and whoever is watching them. So this was my first time not only working behind the cameras, but also interviewing professionally, quote unquote, for the first time. We had a lot of great stories that really came out, and I think they're very powerful and very important to the community as we make these videos public for other people to come watch. And there was one story in particular where we were interviewing him, and he talks about an experience where he dealt with segregation and racism. He wanted to come to California to have a better life. On the way here, he got pulled over to the side of the road by by a state officer, and as he was asked for his registration, and as he got his registration, when he turned back around to get out of the car, he was held at gunpoint. And I found the story really really powerful, just because you hear about segregation and racism in books, in movies, in on social media, but you never really, for me personally, I never heard something like that being told face to face to me. And that's something that I felt was very raw, very, very, very that speaks to the vulnerability. I'm glad that this person was able to kind of speak about that, because that's not easy to speak about in general. And I think stories like that kind of make these videos very important in order to add to the history collection of Marin City, because a lot of people don't know about the history of Marin City as a whole. So having stories like this, having experiences like this, could advocate towards what these people had to go through. And that's pretty much the goal of Desire to Inspire Studio. And I think they are doing such a great job in terms of grabbing these stories and having more and more of these in the archive to make sure that these are available to watch. And in terms of this story connecting to my concepts in real life, I am part of Capulong. We have a Filipino cultural night. We host it every year. Last year we'd have a historical play. It was basically about the I Hotel in San Francisco, about how people had to work around the system to fight for something that they believed in. And with this, this ties back to the person that we interviewed, because he knew the system. He knew how to get out of he knew how to get out of the hole that he was in, being wrongfully arrested. And I think having those two kind of tied in together, knowing the legal system, knowing how to, even though it's working against them, still trying to find those ways to make sure that they fought for what they stood for. And just to close it all off, yeah, knowing that having the resources available to get them out of trouble, something that's very important to them. And I'm glad that I was able to hear these stories, and it's something I definitely want to be a part of moving forward. And now knowing the interviewing portion along with the editing portion, it makes me have a passion even more for social media and overall just learning more about Marin City. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I will now pass it on to Feasby, who is the operations director at Desire to Inspire, who will tell us a little bit more about their work as a community partner.
Deyne, that was awesome. Great highlight for Mr. Jesse Polk. A little bit more about the gentleman he was speaking of. Jesse Polk is 90 years old, and he was spry and incredibly present, and his storytelling was amazing all on its own. It was really amazing to see our students, both our high school student and our Dominican students, engage with these community elders to really meet them where they were at and ask insightful, compassionate questions. They took a lot of time to think about how different areas of the community, different personal parts affected how they engaged in their community, how they saw the world. And it was really cool to see them over time get more comfortable, not only behind the camera and doing the editing work and really wanting to engage with how they were going to tell this story to others, but also to see them become more comfortable with each interviewee and to be really curious about those stories. And each of them took time to cultivate those questions and to build on questions that had been asked by the other students. So it was incredible to see that progress. As Desire to Inspire Studios, we are a media production nonprofit. So our mission is to provide a space for anyone, but young people in particular, to pursue their passion of photography or videography while also giving back to the community. We do an incredible amount of work with nonprofits specifically for the purpose of generating awareness, creating more outreach, and really documenting the work that they're doing, and also capturing the voices of the people that they serve so that those lived experiences are shared, not just within the community that they exist in as a nonprofit and whichever community that's being served, but also nationally and recently globally. We've been able to kind of spread that information, and it is incredibly important to us that for our young people that their passion, the things that they feel deeply about as far as their work, are also tied back into the community, and how the work that they do can be both meaningful and fulfilling and impactful. So it was incredible to participate with this program and see these kids really gain knowledge about lived experiences from a very specific community in Marin County. It's dear to me. It's where my family is from. And to see them kind of internalize the concept that curiosity is acceptable. It might be uncomfortable to ask questions, but there's always a way to ask graciously. And we worked on that. And we worked on how the way that you engage can create a safe space for individuals to speak about those messages, to speak about their lived experiences. So it was incredible. And I look forward to doing it again and bringing in more students and more interviews in all of the communities. Marin County is a diverse place. It might not seem like it sometimes, but it really is. And the more voices that get to be heard, the more obvious those tapestries become and those threads. So yeah. Thanks. Back to Daniela.
So much for sharing about the powerful work that you and your organization does. I will now pass it on to our next speaker, who is Emily, who will talk about working at the Spahr Center.
Thank you, Daniela. Hi, everybody. My name is Emily, and I am a biology major and CASC minor, and I'm actually going to be graduating in a couple weeks. I am currently in Dr. Jennifer Lugo's CASC 3405 Community Engaged Research Methods class, and I originally started my service learning journey during my first semester at Dominican in Dr. Laura Stiver's Ethics from the Margins class, where I volunteered as a teacher's aide in the ESL classes at Canal Alliance. And I actually enjoyed it so much that I decided to pursue a CASC minor. And then the next semester, I took Dr. Stiver's Ethics, Housing, and Homelessness class, where I started working in the syringe access services with the Spahr Center. I've continued working with the Spahr Center in the past 2 semesters, doing HIV prevention work in Dr. Emily Wu's class, and now doing syringe access again in Dr. Luca's class. Through this work, I was able to connect with so many people in the community that I wouldn't normally connect with. The Spahr Center's syringe access program emphasizes the harm reduction approach, which is a set of practical strategies and ideas aimed at reducing negative consequences associated with substance use. Harm reduction is also a movement for social justice built on a belief in and respect for the rights of people who use substances. The Spahr's main goal in providing harm reduction services is to reduce harm associated with substance use, and it does not pressure people to seek rehabilitation or recovery from their substance use, but it does encourage it. This semester in Dr. Luca's class, I researched the challenges, stereotypes, and stigmas associated with homelessness and harm reduction. Doing this work, I have been able to connect with many people experiencing homelessness and really talk to them about the challenges that they face. Many people in the community treat people experiencing homelessness in very poor and negative ways, which can be extremely detrimental to their emotional, physical, and mental health. Working with this community has emphasized the importance of cultural humility because I have been able to learn so much from the members of the community that I have worked with. We must work together to reduce the stigma and stereotypes associated with homelessness and harm reduction, because the people who experience homelessness and participate in harm reduction services are people who are working every day to improve their lives just like all of us. If we want a nice and healthy community, it is important to remember that we need to be the nice community and treat those experiencing homelessness or other marginalized communities as people. In the future, I hope to become a nurse practitioner and continue to implement my CASC minor and all that I have learned in my future career. I hope to continue my work with the Spahr Center in the future and someday work as a healthcare provider for underserved communities and advocate for harm reduction. With that being said, I want to thank you all, especially Dr. Stivers, Dr. Root, and Dr. Luco, as well as all my fellow classmates, for supporting me in my service learning journey and for taking the time to listen to my presentation. With that being said, I actually had to log off and go to my last service learning shift, but thank you all, and I'll pass it back to Daniela now.
Thank you, Emily, for sharing all of that and the hard work that you've been doing for service learning over the years. I will now pass it on to our next speaker, Laila, who will talk about working with Canal Alliance's adult education program as a conversation partner.
Hello, everyone. My name is Laila Albutmeh, and I'm a freshman 2 nursing major here at Dominican. The service learning class I took this semester was on Evolution of Human Cultures with Dr. Cynthia Taylor. I would like to open up with a quote, and according to Guest, culture is a system of knowledge, beliefs, patterns of behavior, artifacts, and institutions that are created, learned, and shared by a group of people. Before taking this class, I thought humans are born with a culture that is constructed by their families and passed through generations. However, I learned that culture is taught and influenced heavily by the people around us and society as a whole. Working with Canal Alliance as a conversational partner has taught me so many different things about culture. Just because two people do not have the same cultural backgrounds does not mean their cultural identity cannot correlate. My 2D and I did not have the same cultural background, but we shared some factors that brought our cultural identities together. Some aspects include discrimination, oppression, racial injustices, and limited opportunities. I am a Palestinian Muslim woman living in America, and that sentence alone revolves around a lot of oppression and discrimination. My 2D is from Guatemala, and he expressed many struggles he goes through in America while being considered a person of color and even an immigrant. I remember during one of our sessions, he was expressing how hard it is for him to earn money in a place where it is so expensive and fast-paced. He's trying to better his life, but because America has this idea that people of color should not get certain resources and helps makes it harder. Both my 2D and I come from these backgrounds, which results in less resources and opportunities for ourselves. We also have to work twice as hard to even try and achieve the American dream. Working with my 2D has made me realize how this inflamed society we live in brought us together, as our struggles derive from the same ideas. I would like to end off with a quote that was said by Bill Gates. Discrimination has a lot of layers that make it tough for minorities to get a leg up. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Laila. We appreciate you sharing. I will now pass it on to our next speaker, who is Jonah, who will talk about working with the Downtown Streets team.
My name is Jonah Ridgely. I'm a junior and I'm a history major. I did my service learning as part of my ethics of homelessness and housing class with Laura Stivers. So yeah, I'd like to start off with a quote that was from Peter King, which is someone who we read during class, who's talking about the universal right to housing. One can talk of a universal right to housing based on the need to fulfill an extensive list of human functional capabilities. So I wanted to start that off because I think it ties into everything that I'm about to say and everything that I learned while working with Downtown Streets Team. Downtown Streets Team is a program which helps unhoused and precariously housed individuals get out of survival mode and meet the basic necessities of life. They do this by compensating their work, cleaning up the streets with gift cards to grocery stores. So they're able to get food and just get by while they're on the street. So it was a really great experience for me. I cleaned up the streets every week or almost every week with unhoused and precariously housed individuals. Got to know them over time, somewhat slowly in some cases with people. Some people are more talkative than others, but it was really a great experience, and it shifted my perspective on homelessness as well as housing in our country, which I think sometimes they're talked as separate things, but they're very connected. So yeah, through my service learning, I basically came to realize that homelessness is not caused primarily by individual characteristics like drug addiction and mental illness. It's primarily caused by poverty and a lack of affordable housing. So these individual characteristics can increase the likeliness of homelessness for people, but they're not the underlying root cause. And I think this is something that a lot of people don't understand. There's a common narrative that people need to have a lack of work ethic, or they're homeless due to personal failures or setbacks or rather flaws. That's something that I realize is just really not true. individual characteristics like mental illness and drug addiction are increased likeliness, like I said, but they're issues at all socioeconomic levels. And when you're born into a low income or born into poverty, it's much more difficult to overcome these issues, and you're more likely to end up unhoused. I got to know a lot of the people who I worked with. Specifically, I got to know Willie, team member Willie, he's a super funny guy, a great team leader and a hard worker. He told me that he's been working since he was 14 years old, but he's spent the last 20 years in transitional housing, living in a shelter. During that time, he had 2 surgeries. He's a super resilient person, great people person, like very easy to talk to. And it kind of goes against the narrative. Everybody I worked with had mentioned, having various jobs throughout their life, and we're all just very kind people. And, it really showed me that the narrative around homelessness is just very skewed. I think that if we can look at housing as a universal right in our country, that it would be a big step in the right direction to adopt that view. If our government could kind of adopt that view, then we would be able to provide more low-income housing, which I think is the biggest solution to homelessness. I also realized that on a more real level, I understood that systemic racism caused people of color to be more likely to become homeless, but one experience with my service learning made this stand out specifically to me. I was going to my shift one day, and one of our team members, Michael, he's a Black man, was being interrogated by the police, and they were questioning him about a crime that he didn't commit. This was at 8 a.m. in the morning as he was going to his shift. He had his downtown streets, and they let him go, and he was kind of expressing his frustration about the experience throughout the whole shift. And it just made me realize how difficult it is to be both unhoused and also a person of color. It's kind of a dual form of oppression. It's much more likely that once you're unhoused, that you're at a higher risk of being racially profiled and unjustly incarcerated. Once you're incarcerated, it's much more difficult to find a secure job and housing. And then you're just kind of caught in this cycle that is perpetuated by the systemic racism in our country. And this is stuff that I kind of knew in theory, but working with people on the streets really made this more real for me, and made me understand that it's not just something, as someone else said, it's not something that we just read about in books. It's a reality for a lot of people. Yeah, I'm just really grateful that I got to work with Downtown Streets team. I am a history major, as I said. I'm hoping to go into education, hopefully at the high school or maybe later in life, the college level. And I think it's just super important to teach people about the history of segregationist housing policies like redlining and things like that, so that people have an understanding of the things that really cause homelessness and are able to maybe think more critically about solutions for this huge crisis that we have in our country. So thank you. I really appreciate it. And thank you for all your shares.
Thank you so much for sharing all of those very powerful stories and reminding us about how important it is to shed light and change some of those narratives and that we hear often that are not true, and sharing those stories about the community that you worked with. I will now pass it on to our next speaker, who is Ryan, who will talk about a social justice major graduation reflection.
Hi, everyone. As she said, my name is Ryan. I'm an English and social justice major, graduating in a couple weeks. I'm super excited. I have taken a service learning class every semester since I started at Dominican, which has been such a privilege because I had the opportunity to work with a lot of different partners rather than one for an extended period of time, in particular working with education or teen mothers. And it was really amazing seeing so many different areas of the community and so many different ways in which all of the structural issues are tied together. I think sometimes we view them as separate challenges that need to be approached, and everything is linked. So as I continue my academic career and hopefully my legal career, it's so important to have that open-minded perspective of it's not just one issue, everything is tied together. So it's been really amazing for my growth as a person and my growth academically. And it's great to go out into the world knowing I have a more well-rounded understanding of my role within a community and how important community is.
Thank you so much, Ryan. Definitely highlighting the benefits of service learning and how it extends beyond just what you do in your class, but how it's useful going forward. I will now pass it on to our next speaker, who is Azan, who will talk about his work at RotaCare.
Hi, I'm Azan Yousaf. I'm a sophomore pursuing a double major in biology and social justice. I've enjoyed every minute of my time helping to serve my community through RotaCare. RotaCare is a free clinic for uninsured individuals to receive healthcare without worrying about financial burden caused by an unfair healthcare system. A book I was able to read this semester was Spahr's Girls Rising by Cervantes Soon in Dr. Lucco's CASC 3405 class. In the book, I believe a specific concept was very important to my work. Cervantes soon defined working the hyphen as trying to understand the positionality one has in terms of their privilege and oppression. When it comes to my positionality, I'm a first-generation Pakistani American. I'm 19 years old and pursuing an education at an American institution. I'm from a middle-class family and have been blessed with the opportunity to pursue an education. Compared to the community I serve, most of the patients at RotaCare are Latinx and tend to be uninsured. My background and culture do differ from the majority of the people at RotaCare. Regarding the community residents, I do not speak Spanish, and almost 80% of the patients need translators. Another aspect is my own privilege. I've been fortunate enough to have great healthcare all my life. I never had to worry about my insurance status or worry about getting care for any illness, which all of the clients at RotaCare cannot relate to. When trying to navigate my way through RotaCare, I can see that there are many ways I am working the hyphen. One particular interaction was with the patient. The patient was seen for their high A1C levels in this interaction. When initially reporting the patient in my impact, I noted that the patient did not seem to be trying to lower their level. Their A1C represented a level that kept increasing over a period of time, and it felt to me that they did not seem to care about their health. It wasn't until the second interaction I had with them that I learned that this was the first time in years that they were even able to see a doctor or get labs done. As someone who has an annual checkup every year and can see results that allow me to make lifestyle changes effectively, I was blinded by my own privilege. As I continue my work, I must acknowledge my healthcare background and privilege and maintain no bias in the research that I do to properly work the margin. I hope to continue working with RotaCare and shaping a capstone that can allow me to publish work and bring attention to an unjust American healthcare system.
Thank you so much, Azan, for sharing that and the connections you were able to build from class and also your experiences at your community partner site. I will now pass it on to our next speaker, who is Caytlin, who will talk about working with the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Academy.
Hi, everyone. My name is Caytlin. I'm a sophomore to nursing major, studio art minor, and I'm working with religion and ecology with Matthew Davis and Elizabeth Miller. And so with MLK, we explored cultural and ecological wealth and the many forms of cultural capital. And we kind of looked at MLK from rather a deficit perspective towards like more of an abundant perspective, trying to focus on all of the amazing things about MLK and Marin City, kind of to reposition the way the story is seen. After learning about structural inequities of our educational and other systems, we tasked ourselves with framing how we understand by learning from and experiencing community. At MLK, we worked with a diverse journalism class of 7th graders, and each Dominican student was paired with at least one or two of the students at MLK. And within the first few weeks, we made a couple of short films to kind of learn about different filming techniques, getting to know each other, and to learn about where the students find beauty on campus. Then in the weeks following, we looked at different values, dignity, and dreamers like MLK and Jason Reynolds. We also learned about different local community members such as Anita Fowler, Paul Austin, LaDonna, and we also learned about Rocky Graham. Towards the end of the semester, we created documentary projects on cultural wealth. My project was about Felicia Gaston's cookbook, Grandmother's Feed Us Love. We talked about the importance of how food brings community together, why it's important that we keep these recipes alive. And I even had the pleasure to get to know her and to get an interview with her. And I think that's one of the great things about Marin City is that these largely impactful members of the community that made Marin City into what it is today still reside in the community and still serve today. And it's going to be great because tomorrow, we're excited to have a film festival with the MLK students where we will be able to present our films and they'll be able to watch with us.
Thank you, Caytlin, so much for sharing about your experience. I will now pass it on to Brooke and Pakela, who will talk about their work at the Dance Art Community Project.
Hello, I'm Brooke, This semester, I have been in CASC 3405 with Emily Wu and Social Justice and Ethical Art Professor Lucia Leon. I've been working with Dance Arts Community Project for the past year now, and they're a nonprofit organization started by Andrea Sacalario from Dance Arts Ballroom in Santa Fe that aims to provide affordable and accessible dance classes to underserved communities. For the past year, I have been teaching and assisting in Latin ballroom and ballet classes at the Alboro Community Center in the Canal. The project has also been working with Performing Stars in Marin City and at Ann Yates Elementary School in Emeryville. We listen to the wants and the needs of each specific community and aim to tailor our classes to best benefit them. For my CASC 3405 class this semester, I interviewed 2 moms of my students from the classes I teach at the community center. They are Spanish-speaking immigrants from Latin American countries, and since I am nowhere near fluent in Spanish, I relied heavily on previous speaker from today, bilingual service learning student Diara, in the post-interview process, who helped me a lot with translation and transcription of the interview. In the interview, I asked them about their backgrounds and the role of dance in their lives, cultural transmission, and their hopes and dreams for the future of the program. From the interview, one of my greatest takeaways was how the moms spoke about the importance of dance and music in their culture. Dance and music are extremely important in Latin American culture because they relate these two to life, happiness, and freedom. My interviewees explained that the lack of formal dance training in their home, they explained the lack of formal dance training in their home countries, but even so, they dance without embarrassment and believe that the whole world should dance. One quote from one of the moms was that dance is very important in our culture, Latin culture. We dance not for being good dancers, no, because of happiness. The mom spoke with so much passion in her voice that it struck me immediately. In the white American culture that I was raised in, dances seem as a niche that a majority of people feel very disconnected from. But in the way that the moms spoke, I could tell that dance is so deeply embedded in their culture, and that felt extremely powerful to me. I feel like I'm constantly trying to teach people about the importance of dance, but these moms expressed its importance better than I could ever, because it's part of them and it's part of their culture. The majority of my life, dance has felt extremely intrinsic and a very personal journey that I've been striving for, but I lacked a deeper connection to the art form that would sustain me for the rest of the career. But throughout my time at Dominican, through opportunities that I've had through service learning and my experiences in the CASC minor, it has inspired me to continue work like this for the rest of my life that has given a deeper purpose to what I do. I also forgot to mention I'm a dance major and a CASC minor.
Hi, everyone. My name is Pakela Newalu-Gomes. I am in CASC 3405 with Emily Wu. I also work with Brooke at Dance Arts Community Project. I was able to interview Andrea Sacalario, who is the owner of Dance Arts and the director of Dance Arts Community Project. And we were able to talk about the curriculum that she created for the children in her class at the Alboro Community Center. And yeah, it was an incredible conversation. For some context, the Alboro Community Center is located in the Canal District in Santa Fe, where the demographic is predominantly Latinx. And with this in mind, Andrea wanted to structure her dance classes with codified dance techniques that originate from Latin America and within Latin communities. We focus on teaching dance styles such as the salsa, merengue, the mambo, etc., which coincide with the heritages of those we teach in the Canal. She also mentioned a game that she includes in her class where she asks the kids, where did this dance come from? And they respond. And this ties into our emphasis on the kids learning about their own heritages and her wanting to cultivate a sense of pride for their identities. This piece of information, I would say, would be the most significant connection between interviewing her and my time with the community members at Alboro, as it's enriched my life as a dancer in many ways. Firstly, having the opportunity to work as her assistant alongside Brooke has been an incredibly rewarding experience. It wasn't only an introduction to leading a movement class for the younger generation, but it was also an opportunity to learn how I would like to structure my career as a teacher and dancer in the future. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you both for sharing those awesome stories, and it's great to see how you're able to connect dance with your engagement in the community. We will now pass it on to our next speaker, who is Denise, who will talk about her work with Davidson Middle School's Extended Learning Program.
Hello, my name's Denise. I'm a junior 2 nursing major with a minor in graphic design. This semester, I took Honors Art Fundamentals with Lynn. So part of the class consisted of us applying art to community. So this being said, my classmates and I did our service learning at the Davidson Middle School DXL program, which is around 10 minutes away from campus. The population of students there consisted of mostly Latina students, many of them speaking only Spanish, and many who have also barely immigrated here from Latin countries, specifically Guatemala and Mexico. This program's purpose is to encourage and challenge these students to acquire important academic and social emotional skills, while also encouraging them to embrace their background and their culture. We would go on Wednesday afternoons to do different art projects with them, almost all connecting to their identity. There was one student that I came to form a friendship with during my time there. Making conversations with her reminded me of my younger self a little bit, with family having great impact on her life and the way she views the world as well. I think she may have felt the same. Because my table mates and I gave her the opportunity to share pieces of her life with us through her art, her connection to us grew. Art was what brought us together in the first place, but similarities in culture and life experiences was what brought us closer. It's the same with any friendship, really. You find people that bring you a sense of comfort, of warmth, either through humor or affection or something else. As you share your life experiences with one another, you may find similarities that may bring you even closer. I do think that art has a way of speaking to us that can lead to further connection, and that's what many of the students at Davidson Middle School found to be true. Many would come with their friends, but would mingle around the room to talk to other students and compliment each other's artwork or laugh together about something that the other had done. You would sometimes find them competing over who would get what stencil for what project. I would sometimes just sit there and be comforted by their interactions. As we get older, we tend to push aside art because we're busy and don't have the time to add one more thing to our daily life. However, these middle schoolers that I had the pleasure of meeting made me realize just how much it's an important aspect of our social emotional health as people. They continuously would make it possible to come to our program because they enjoyed it, because it brought them a sense of comfort to be there. Art can be a home too. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Denise, for sharing that very beautiful story about your experiences this semester. I will now pass it on to our next speakers, Isaiah and Alyssa, who will talk about their work with Laurel Dell Elementary, the Y Plan, and the Youth and Arts program.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alyssa. I'm a senior and I'm a biology major. And this semester I am taking Power of Words with Dr. Emily Wu.
My name is Isaiah. I'm currently a first-year nursing student. I'm also taking the same class. And through the Power of Words class, we had the opportunity to serve at Laurel Dell Elementary School. And we assisted UC Berkeley architectural instructor, youth and arts instructor, Dr. Cheryl Buss with the Y Plan project. Basically, Y Plan is a K-12 civic youth engagement strategy developed by UC Berkeley Center for Cities and Schools. And throughout the weeks, we worked with Dr. Cheryl Buss in Mr. Seligman's 4th grade class to come up with a proposal to the project question: what are the pathways, gateways, and bridges that will lead us from our homes and to school, to the Dominican University and beyond? And throughout the weeks, the students created art projects to address these different topics.
So our role was we were classroom assistants and service learners. This is when we would just help Cheryl prepare materials for the project. We worked with students with writing and spelling, and we shared our own experiences as a student. And we also helped brainstorm with the kids for ideas in creating their projects in terms of their bridges and pathways and how to overcome challenges and get to college.
In the class, we learned about dominant narratives and counter narratives of the community. So dominant narratives are basically stories that come from the perspective of the dominant groups that are often oppressive or marginalizing other groups. And counter narratives are stories that are often hidden, coming from the perspective of the subordinate groups that are usually silenced.
So the dominant narrative that we came up with was that college is not accessible for all, for Latino immigrant families. It's expensive and they don't have enough information about how to get their kids there. And it's for English speakers. They don't have what it takes to overcome the linguistic, cultural, and financial barriers. Our counter narrative is that these kids are letting us know that they have goals in life and they want to go to college. They are creative and they're great at problem solving. Despite the challenges, they inspire to have college education and come to Dominican. They came to visit and could see themselves going here.
And through the art projects and drawings, this, they were able to show their aspiration and goals of what they want to achieve by the time they become college students themselves.
The kids here are mostly Spanish speakers. One kid didn't really speak much Spanish, and their classroom teacher, Mr. Seligman, is fluent in English, Spanish. He's fluent in Spanish, and which is great because he was able to share that like connection and help the students.
Although we don't speak Spanish ourselves, we are first generation BIPOC students, and our parents are also immigrants, so we were able to relate with the students in that way.
And we appreciate that Cheryl uses her expertise in architecture to work with the kids and create like all these projects to work on for their vision of their community.
Thank you so much, Isaiah and Alyssa, for sharing and talking about the connections you got to work with those students. We will now pass it on to Dr. Cheryl Buss from Youth and Arts, the instructor and creative director of UC Berkeley's Center for Cities and Schools.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Alyssa and Isaiah. That was an amazing presentation. You really captured the spirit and essence of what we did together with the young students. And I just want to say that it was a very powerful experience to bring together UC Berkeley, Youth and Arts, Dominican, and Laureldale Elementary in the San Rafael School District on a project of this magnitude, and to really introduce fourth graders to the pathway, the opportunities, as well as how to overcome the obstacles to traverse the trail from fourth grade to Dominican. And I have to say, after the visit to Dominican and after creating a giant board game, drawing pictures of their pathways and their imagined next 10 years, many of the students want to become penguins. So thank you so much. It was just a really lovely experience to work with not only you two as relatable, wonderful mentors for the young students, but also the administration at Dominican. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you so much. And that's awesome to hear that they were inspired, and hopefully we'll see some, many years down the line, maybe they will consider Dominican as a school in their future.
I want to add one more thing. They made a giant 5-foot by 5-foot game board that is all the steps. You play the game and it gets you from elementary school to middle school to high school to college. And we're going to invite all of you to play the game at some point. We'll set it up at Dominican with these giant dice and cards and all the accoutrements of a board game with a lot of meaning. So we invite everybody to partake in that when we bring it to the campus.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for the invitation. Hopefully we can see that soon, and it'll be fun to see what you guys have been working on. I will now pass it on to Corinne, who will give a social justice major graduation reflection.
Hi, everyone. My name is Corinne, and I'm a senior. I'm double majoring in social justice and psychology. Similar to what Ryan said earlier, I've been taking service learning classes since my freshman year. Had the great opportunity to partner up with different community members and different organizations, and I've gained a lot of experience from all of that, and definitely learned a lot through those experiences and applied a lot of what I've learned through my classes. And it's not just about what you learn in class, it's not just about the theories and readings that you do, it's all about the experience that you do with the community. But I've definitely learned a lot throughout my time at Dominican, and my social justice major professors have definitely helped me a lot in writing my senior thesis and kind of just cultivating in an environment that focuses on advocacy and social justice. I've learned a lot, and I definitely want to carry a lot of what I've learned throughout my career in the future and what I want to do in the future. So thank you.
And thank you again for sharing with everyone about the social justice major and just the benefits of, how it extends beyond just your time here at Dominican. I will now pass it on to Isabel, who will share her reflection as a CASC minor graduation.
Hi, everyone. My name is Isabel Pisano. I'm a fourth year occupational therapy major. And just to close out today, I wanted to share with you all my reflection on my last 4 years engaging in service learning. I've completed the Community Action and Social Change minor. I've been an EDJE Fellow for 6 semesters, and I've served 8 semesters at different service learning sites, 7 of which were with Next Generation Scholars in downtown San Rafael. I'll now be graduating in a couple of weeks with my bachelor's of health science and the double major in psychology and CASC. And then I'll continue on next year to finish my master's degree. So through all the roles I've served over this time, I can wholeheartedly say that I've learned and grown as an individual and as a professional. I plan to continue this trajectory and commit to lifelong learning as I transition into the next stages of my life and my career. Service learning has provided me the opportunity to be enmeshed in my community in ways that I would never have had the chance to be a part of otherwise. I owe NGS and their entire team, the students and all their families, all of the credit for so much of the personal growth I've made over the years. And I truly believe that they became the foundation for me to continue this journey. I thank you all for being here today and being a part of this program in one way or another. It truly makes impacts in more ways than we can see from the surface, both in our communities and in ourselves. And on that note, that brings the symposium and my service learning journey to an end. And to end, I'll just encourage you all to continue the work you're doing and continue to welcome these new experiences with open arms and open minds. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Isabel. Just as she said, that does bring our symposium to an end. Thank you everyone for being here today, all the students who presented, everyone who came to be here and be present and listen to all the stories that each one of you shared. It's really great when we're all together and you can hear it. So that's really nice. And if anyone has any questions about social justice major or any of the minors, please feel free to let us know. But thank you for all of your hard work, and I hope you all have a great end of pretty much school. We're at the end of the semester and an amazing summer. So thank you everyone.